You know where it's come from is mostly with acne. And it's kind of funny because I feel like people see my skin now and they're like, oh yeah, what are you talking about? But in my 20s, I got severe acne. I call it like entrepreneur acne. You get so stressed and you get so like, you're trying to figure out what to do and you're working more than you've ever worked before. And the funny thing is I was also in makeup at the same time, so I'm getting this like entrepreneur acne, but I'm also working in makeup. So the expectation is that my skin would be clear. So I felt like what I would do is I would cover even more. I would cover my skin even more, which, as you know, if you have, acne, it's like covering your skin even more is making the problem even worse. So that was tough. That was really, really tough. And I found myself just being like, when I don't have makeup on, like, do I look okay when I don't have makeup on was a big thing for me. It's gotten better now though. What I've done is I basically have told my audience, like I have a social media platform, and I sometimes go in those cycles again where I go, okay, what's happening? Like, I don't really feel like making videos because my skin's not clear. And then I'll just come online and just say, hey, my skin's breaking out. Okay, whatever, let's keep going. Working through that and realizing that it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, right? Like, people aren't watching you because you're perfect. Everyone's not perfect, so it's okay.
Well, I think that there's been many things, but I think that the most impactful thing that ever happened to me that made me change my perspective on how I was going to live my life moving forward was that I was much younger, but I was on a photo shoot, and there was like about 20 people that were surrounding me. Art director, creatives, makeup artists, you name it. And I have a lot of discoloration, and that's been one of the things that I felt so shameful about, because I'm actually in the beauty industry, and when you're in the beauty industry and you're going to build a career in it, you feel like you have to be of excellence in every way. So I was really nervous, and I remember not being my best energetically and what I was delivering. And so I remember storing that. But the interesting thing was that I was thinking the whole time, oh my God, everybody's gonna see my discoloration on camera when I come out. And what happened was that a week later when I received the video, it was gone. So they had photoshopped and literally taken it away. And I had always wanted to see myself like that. And it was that moment where I looked at myself and I said, oh my goodness, they took it away. And instead of feeling excited and feeling like I was perfect, like I've always, wanted to be portrayed, I was angry. I was really upset, and it felt like somebody had taken something away from me that was me. And so what I did was I ruminated in all of this, and I said, I never, ever want to feel that again.
I think it's important to note, so my background is, before I started a beauty brand, my background was marketing, and I was an editor, did a lot of different things, but the core of a lot of marketing, particularly in the United States, is consumer behavior. It is creating anxiety and then selling the solution. And so for women, one of the easiest things to get into is how you look. And so no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, there's always gonna be something that you can fix, and here's the product that's gonna do it. And so I think that in terms of how I've gotten over a lot of different elements of shame that I have, the one that's most recent is I'm 35, so society has deemed that I am now expired. And very much so, it's look younger, are you looking good for your age? Just there's tons of anxiety around it, is that having neutrality around certain things, understanding that aging is just a natural process of life and I'd much rather choose living than dying, is one way that I've kind of gotten beyond that, but then also just appreciating what I have, where I've gone in life. I think that a lot of the times just accepting what you have and not necessarily trying to make everything just like positive about it, right? There are some things about aging that intrinsically not as fun, right? Like we don't have universal health care in the United States, so not necessarily always a privilege, especially say if you throw out your back, but there are beautiful things about it. I would not change where I am or where I'm going. And so that's kind of one way that I've taken power back. And I think that something that's very beautiful about the industry and that I'm very excited about is that we're starting to see more and more brands fight back as to this kind of marketing, because that's not necessarily why people are buying beauty products. It's not because we're all anxious about something. It's sometimes just because we like doing the practice or because we like being comfortable. And yes, there is going to be some sort of a cosmetic effect that's going to soften maybe the entrance into age, but it doesn't have to be the anxious anxiety, anti-aging, erase wrinkles, erase pores. It can also be just a wonderful product.
I'm a creator, and so when I create things on the internet, sometimes I'll watch certain creators create around skincare products, and they'll use every kind of skincare product, and they'll be like, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great. And I'm like, I can't trust you. You're not even taking the time to test any of this out. Plus, everyone's skin's different. I have incredibly sensitive skin, so certain things that I eat may trigger a breakout, or like certain products I might use might trigger a breakout. So I'm always really upfront about that. But that messaging for me, that you can change your products, you can keep changing your products over and over and over again, is really detrimental to people's skin. You see the workouts that they're doing at the gym, and they're showing you the stuff that looks really cool, but that's not the stuff that builds muscle. The boring stuff is the stuff that builds muscle. Doing the same thing every day is the stuff that builds muscle. And it's the same thing with working it out and figuring out what works for your skin. So that's really problematic for me.
I think that the one that I've been thinking about the most is, I think that we need to change the language. I think that the language, the vocabulary, and how we're reframing the philosophy and how we're viewing things, we need to put a lot of importance in it and a lot of responsibility in how we're speaking to each other and how products are being presented to us. So I think that that's something that really, really annoys me, like, oh, this is perfect, and, you're gonna look like, your best self, and all of that.
So I used to work at Snapchat, and I was there when we had the fun filters, the vomiting unicorns, and then very quickly it turned into like sexy woodland creatures, and then it just morphed into like, I think I saw a TikTok on this, like micro-dosing plastic surgery, and I think that filters are one of the more damaging things that have actually come out in terms of technology. And you're actually seeing beauty brands make filters. And the filters, some of the parts look like me, right? I have cartoonishly large eyes, which I was mocked for as a child. And then you're like, they're so pretty. I'm like, pick a personality, like let's just pick one. But also like noses, right? So it's like, I'm half French, the French family, very small noses, the Italian family, different noses. And I'm a blend of the two, and there's always one side that was complimenting me and the other side that was telling me my nose turned down, you can fix that with surgery. Truly, like these are the kinds of things that you are told, not even getting into other beauty standards. And I think that what really bothers me about filters is that they always look the same. It's much smaller nose, it's upturned, higher cheekbones, huge eyes. Like it's very much so these features that it's picking and choosing different features from like basically different like ethnicities. And I think that it is incredibly damaging to do that, especially on platforms that are downloadable by such young ages. Because for me, I can recognize how damaging that is. I'm not even to speak of the Photoshop skin, the blurring, all of that. There's so many different elements. And I think that that's something that actually should be stopped and should be regulated and worked against, because it's not harmless. It's pretty damaging, and it really bothers me still.